Life's greatest truth is that at every moment we are engaged in a silent dialogue within ourselves, and this dialogue is not just idle thought but the very force that shapes our identity, our decisions, our relationships, and ultimately our destiny. The second part of controlling the inner conversation makes this truth even clearer. Until we learn to govern the words we silently repeat, the outer world cannot truly transform. Circumstances are not always in our control. Life will bring disappointment, the story we tell ourselves about these events. Two people can experience the same setback, and one might spiral into despair because his inner voice whispers defeat, while the other grows stronger because her inner dialogue repeats faith and possibility. The difference lies not in the situation but in the conversation within. If a person wakes up every day saying inwardly, "I am unlucky, I am destined to fail," then regardless of effort, the pattern of failure repeats itself. But if the same person slowly begins to affirm, "I am learning, I am growing, every experience is strengthening me," then that conversation gradually reshapes their choices and outlook, and those choices begin to shift the course of destiny. This practice, however, does not come naturally. It requires conscious and consistent effort. The book uses the analogy of a farmer sowing seeds in the soil. He must water them every day and tend to them, even before seeing results. Likewise, we must plant new thoughts in our minds and nurture them with repetition until they take root in the subconscious. At first these affirmations may feel false, as though we are lying to ourselves, but over time, the subconscious accepts them as truth, and the life around us begins to mirror that truth. The book also stresses that inner speech shapes not only our future but our present moment as well. When we speak to ourselves with kindness, peace settles into our hearts. When we rehearse gratitude, even the smallest moments become precious. When we affirm hope, even the heaviest burdens feel lighter. That is why awareness of our constant self-talk is essential. Yet the power of this practice does not lie in words alone, it lies in the emotions and beliefs attached to them. Empty phrases repeated without conviction do little, but when spoken with feeling, imagination, and belief, they gain the strength to transform reality. If someone repeats, "I am successful," while filled with fear and doubt, the phrase is hollow, but if that same sentence is spoken with confidence, with an inner vision of achievement, then it becomes a seed of power. Another obstacle is the influence of other people's opinions. All our lives, others have told us what we can and cannot do, and often we internalize their fears until their voices become our own. But the book reminds us that no one else has authority over our inner dialogue unless we allow it. If we accept the voices of doubt and limitation, we stay trapped in them. But if we choose to hear our own authentic inner voice, the one that knows our worth, then no outside criticism can truly define us. Part 2 also explains that our inner conversation extends beyond ourselves to our relationships. When we silently rehearse kindness, forgiveness, and goodwill toward others, that inner tone influences the energy of our interactions and strengthens bonds. But when we continually replay grievances and complaints, that too seeps into relationships and damages them. Thus, changing our inner conversation is not only an act of self-transformation but an act of love toward others. Mastering this dialogue is not a one-time task but a lifelong practice. Just as we eat every day and breathe every moment, we must daily renew and clean our inner speech. Some days it feels like pulling weeds from a stubborn garden, yet the fruit of this discipline is always worth it. When our inner world becomes aligned with peace, clarity, and hope, the outer world gradually reflects that light back to us. The lesson is simple but profound. We are the artists of our destiny. The brush is in our hand, the colors are our thoughts, and the image is painted by the sentences we silently repeat. If we choose darkness, fear, and despair, the picture becomes dull and broken. But if we choose faith, gratitude, and love, the picture becomes vibrant, hopeful, and alive. And this transformation begins not with some dramatic external change but with something as intimate as a single new phrase spoken inwardly, a word of encouragement, a belief in possibility, a sentence of faith whispered again and again until it becomes real. The second part of controlling the inner conversation therefore acts both as a mirror and as a guide, a mirror to show us the stories we have been unconsciously telling ourselves, and a guide that leads us toward a new way of being, where the voice inside is no longer our critic but our companion, no longer our enemy but our ally, guiding us with strength into the life we are truly meant to live.